Hello? Anybody in there?
Hello everyone, it's Nicole with you today, and we are bringing you an honest review of a one-of-its-kind video game, The Medium. This is yet another psychological horror game from Bloober Team, which was launched in January 2021, available for PC and Xbox, and now coming to PlayStation 5 on September 3rd, 2021. In the PlayStation release, The Medium has been enhanced with DualSense support for a more immersive experience, including resistance on adaptive triggers if your character is fully powered up, feel rapid tapping as you squirm through hundreds and hundreds of moths, and accelerated pulsing when you hold your breath to hide from monsters and it's actually running out of breath, both made possible with adaptive feedback. To know more about DualSense support on PlayStation 5 for The Medium, do check out Bloober Team's YouTube channel. Now back to this review. We will be talking about 6 areas of this game: the story, the gameplay, the controls, boss fights, horror level, and length of the game, with which we share our experience before we sum it all up and discuss our final takeaways. If you, like me, play video games for their stories, The Medium puts forth a good novel which unveils at its pace. The game sets its feet in Poland, with Marianne as the protagonist, and begins with Marianne speaking to an unknown person, or seemingly it feels like speaking to us, telling her story. And this story begins with a recurring dream of a young girl running through the woods, only to be eventually shot dead by a man by the lake. Through the death of Jack, Marianne's foster father, we witness Marianne's psychic abilities as a medium to connect with the dead and to travel to the spirit realm and inhabit both worlds. Responding to an unexpected invitation, Marianne visits Niwa Workers' Resort, an abandoned vacation resort in the Polish wilderness which had been shut down by the government after the Niwa massacre, where many were brutally murdered. Exploring the grounds of the spine-chilling and tattered resort, Marianne befriends a child spirit, Sadness, and slowly uncovers the truth behind the Niwa massacre, unveiling the connection to her recurring dream, and learns about her past and her psychic capabilities. If you are looking for a good story with a twist, The Medium tells a good one. It can be slow in the first quarter of the game, but gives more as you go deeper into it, drawing on your inquisitiveness and leaves you enthralled. At some point, it's hard to put down the controller because you just want to know what happens next.
You're him.
This is a third-person game, and it makes a lot of sense because the camera view are predefined and not within your control. This gives it an added cinematic feel, and in fact, elevates the unsettling horror feel as you constantly anticipate a potential jump scare as the camera view changes at every corner. What also made The Medium stand out as a game well spoken about is its split-screen gameplay. Apart from giving it a visual experience navigating through 2 realms in the same space at the same time, the Bloober Team made the split-screen effect additionally meaningful by incorporating the 2 realms to solve puzzles where actions carried out in one can have an impact on the other. And yes, Marianne is able to send her spiritual form to navigate the alternative realm. There are some puzzles in this game, nothing too crazy, nor is it so easy that it's meaningless to exist. There are, however, no direct combat in this game. And I really appreciate that, because there's nothing more scary than to navigate a horror game without any weapons or ability to defend yourself. In this instance, stealth is your only way to survive. This is also not an open world kind of game, so your exploration is guided in some sense, which helps move the story along and you don't get lost wandering not knowing how to progress the game. Every piece of article you can pick up to read in the gameplay provides an insight that contributes to the story, so it is worth reading everything that you can find.
I know all.
Like I had mentioned earlier, the camera view is predefined, so moving the character can be awkward sometimes. For example, if we were moving her forward and the camera angle changed, so going forward means pressing the right instead. This can be very annoying at the start, but you'll get used to it fast. In fact, it does a great job at adding up to the anxiety that keeps you unsettled on your toes. Another point that was a plus was that Marianne runs at a decent pace. It gets on me in games where running and walking has little significant difference and it drags on the gameplay. Otherwise, I had played this game using a controller. There are more controls to utilize since we navigate in both worlds and have some psychic abilities that needs to be executed using the controls, and doing so is very smooth with the controller. The medium has a good number of monsters that leaves you heart thumping and exhilarated. That sure is a good way to burn some calories. The main monster here that puts you in the repeatedly frantic cat and mouse situation is the Maw, which Sadness explains as a hostile, evil spirit that exists in both worlds. There are some 3 other boss fights along the way which are well presented with amazing voiceovers and sound ambience that complements the storytelling, and each of them are dealt with differently, which provides some variety. This isn't going to be your indie game horror genre. The realistic graphics contributes to several hair-raising moments, though not commanding any screaming moments, at least not for me. There are some gruesome scenes such as cutting through skin with a pocket knife that, coupled with the sound effects, just gives goosebumps every single time. The creepy environment sets the atmosphere really well, and with the uncontrollable camera angles and sound effects, it gets you anticipating jump scares that never happened. No, this isn't Layers of Fears. There is no cheap jump scares, and that is actually very much appreciated. And the typical ball rolling down the stairs by itself moments can really tense up the experience. I just wish there were more of those. That said, a lot of credit has to go to the sound effects of this game for that horror immersive experience, whether it's that low tone white noise going on or the horror screams in the background. Well, I spent a good 8 hours plus on this game. Died a couple of times initially thinking I could fight them more with Marianne's powers. It was pure wishful thinking. The 8 hours does seem appropriate, and I doubt I could take the anxiety and tension for twice that gameplay duration, but it does seem a tad expensive to purchase this game for just 8 hours of gameplay, although the unique experience of delivering this storytelling might justify that. You move from Jack's home and the funeral home to exploring the grounds of Niwa Workers Resort and its nearby forested premises, creating multiple experiences instead of 8 hours in a single atmosphere. This game played out smoothly for me on PC for free with Xbox Game Pass. No glitches, no hiccups, and plays on max graphics on my RTX 3080. Overall, I began this game with the intent to experience how the dual screen gameplay would pan out. But eventually, as I piece things together and start to understand how the story connects, the whole desire for experience transforms into an unnerving need to get to the end of the story instead. The graphics in both worlds are stunning, with a clever use of color grading to create that dull atmosphere indoors and out. I never felt the gameplay becoming repetitive over time, as it does with some video games where you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. The medium began the game well with scares in the funeral home. I would very much love to see that consistent throughout the game with more horror than suspense, but I guess it was designed that way to match up with Marianne, being a medium and hence quite immune and not intimidated by any paranormal that occurs. I'll definitely recommend headset over speakers when playing this game, given how great the sound ambience had been incorporated. If you're considering if you should buy this game, I hope this review has helped you make that decision, and if you've already played this game, let me know in the comments if you share the same sentiments to my experience. I'm leaving you with 5 minutes of gameplay to witness a snippet of the medium. If you prefer not to have any spoilers before you play this game, you could just give us a like first and subscribe to our channel for more tech and game reviews before you close this window. Thanks so much for watching. Over and out.
Looks like an old fort. Might be my way in. Something happened here. The split would come and go. If a place had a story to tell, well, I guess I was there to listen. Dead. Like everything else in this place. The place felt old and soaked in misery. Figures, I guess. 1,000 years of history doesn't just happen. It's paid for. But even in the deepest darkness, light can linger. Lonely, fragile, waiting for someone to embrace it.